Reborn 3 months before the apocalypse. I gained a pocket dimension that can freeze time and store anything. In my past life, I was foolish, handing over all my salary to my ex-wife, only to end up being eaten as emergency rations by them. This time, the first thing I did was divorce her, pour all my money into the stock market, and turn it into $2 billion in 2 months. Then I bought out the city's supplies and stuffed everything into the pocket dimension. My ex-wife's family knocked on my door for 3 days begging for reconciliation. I only replied, "Save your strength. When you're starving in a couple of months, you'll last a few more days." I sat up abruptly from the nightmare, cold sweat soaking my back. In the dream, hailstones the size of ping-pong balls fell in June, shattering glass, and the temperature plummeted to -10 degrees Celsius. On the 4th day, the power grid collapsed, and countless people froze to death overnight. Worse, the hailstones were toxic. They killed plants on contact, contaminated water sources, and drinking it caused excruciating pain. Half a month later, food and clean water ran out, and cannibalism began. And I was pinned down on the bed by my wife's family and dismembered alive. The sound of the knife cutting into bone, I'll never forget it. This wasn't a dream. It really happened. I was reborn. I grabbed my phone and checked the date, March 1st. 3 months until the apocalypse. First thing, divorce. Before I died in my past life, my wife told me a secret. My 3-year-old son wasn't mine. He was hers and her lover Zhang Zhehao's. I was a cuckold for 3 years, handing over my salary, changing diapers at midnight, and in the end, they treated me like an ATM and even butchered me for meat. I'll settle this debt slowly, but I can't act rashly now. Murder is illegal, and killing them outright would be too easy. I got up from bed and pushed the door open. My father-in-law Zheng Yujun was smoking a cigarette, pointing his teacup at me and cursing. "What time is it? Get up and make breakfast." I used to take it, but not today. I walked over and slapped him. Slap. The old man fell flat on the table. My mother-in-law Lin Maying came out holding that bastard child, saw the scene, and screamed like a stuck pig, the kid wailing along. I grabbed a pair of scissors, cut a lock of the child's hair, for a paternity test, though I already knew the result. Then I slammed the door and left. My phone rang. It was Zheng Wan. She yelled, "Xiao Ran, are you crazy? How dare you hit my dad?" I coldly spat out 2 words, "Divorce." She paused, then shouted, "Just wait, I'll deal with you after work. I have the household register, marriage certificate, and ID. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau." Xiao Ran. Her voice softened. "Don't be impulsive. What about Xiao Jia?" I called her out directly. "Zhang Jia is yours and Zhang Zhehao's child. 3 years ago, you rushed to marry me because you were pregnant with his kid. If you don't show up at the Civil Affairs Bureau today, I'll go to the hospital and make a scene. See how you handle that." 3 seconds of silence on the phone. Fine. At the Civil Affairs Bureau, Zheng Wan arrived even before I did. She still tried to persuade me to go back, talking about property division and child custody. I couldn't be bothered. "I'll leave with nothing. The child is yours, and no child support." She had nothing left to say. Half an hour later, the marriage certificate was swapped for a divorce certificate. I didn't even look at her, turned around, and left. I only had 200 yuan left in pocket money, left over from before when I handed over my salary. But I wasn't worried at all, because I knew today's lottery numbers. In my past life, I bought 2 yuan worth and matched 5 numbers. I remembered them clearly. The jackpot was 2.5 billion. I bought 100 bets, and the maximum prize was 500 million. I went to the lottery shop, gave them the numbers, spent 200 yuan, and got the ticket. Then I booked a hotel room for 1,500 yuan a night and took a taxi there. On the way, I started exploring the thing that suddenly appeared in my mind, the pocket dimension. This thing came with my rebirth. It can store items with no weight limit, but objects can't exceed 5 meters in height or width. I threw my phone in, with a thought. It disappeared, and with another thought, it was back in my hand. I ran to the hallway and tried to store the fish tank. Live things can't be stored, but if the space door is open, you can shove them in. When taken out, the fish are dead. So for living things, either force them in or trick them into entering on their own. What's even more fun is that items stay in the same state as when they were stored. Hot tea left for an hour still burns your mouth when taken out. Ice cubes stored remain solid. The key is, kinetic energy is also preserved. If I throw a brick in and release it, the brick comes out with force. Bullets, arrows, falling objects. I can store any kind of ammunition. This thing is a divine artifact in the apocalypse. That evening, I went to a high-end restaurant and ordered the most expensive dishes, spending over 30,000 yuan. I still had credit on Huabei, so I didn't care. Back at the hotel, I caught the live lottery draw. 1 match, 2 matches. All 7 matched. 500 million. After taxes and donations, I got 398 million. Enough. The next morning, I went to the lottery center to claim the prize. The business manager who received me was Qian Yulian, not bad looking. About a 7 out of 10, and she kept hinting we could go out. I didn't take the bait. That kind of favor isn't free. She'd definitely try to sell me financial products. My money has a big purpose. I need to turn it into over 2 billion in the stock market in a little over 2 months, then spend it all on supplies. I added her on WeChat and left. Took a taxi back to Jufu community. Why come back here? I want to buy a house right under my ex-wife's family's nose. When the apocalypse comes, hailstones will smash people's heads and poison them on contact. I can walk around in the basement and watch them slowly die in despair. Starvation? Too easy. I need them to taste every bit of suffering I endured in my past life. There's a real estate agency near the community. I walked in and said directly, "The villa in Building 8, listed at 12 million. I'll pay in full. Sign today, get the keys today." The male agent looked like he was dreaming, trembling as he called the owner. Half an hour later, the owner arrived. I paid a 1 million deposit and got the keys. The whole villa was an empty shell. The furniture was worthless. I searched online for a home renovation company and called them. I want to renovate the villa. The only requirement is sturdiness. Even a sledgehammer can't break through. Install steel shutters on all windows. The person on the other end was stunned. Normal construction takes at least half a year. 2 months. That'll cost extra. No problem. I sent the address and waited for them to come discuss details. I leaned back on the sofa and browsed stock trading software. I remembered the past 2 months' trends clearly from my past life. With capital in hand and the know-how, it's time to roll the snowball. But before the renovation team arrived, trouble came first. Bang, bang, bang. Someone was pounding on the door downstairs, cursing. I looked out and saw Zheng Yujun leading Zheng Wan and Zheng Gang, followed by a crowd of curious Andes. "Xiao Ran, you little bastard, get out here." Zheng Yujun's face was red, his voice loud enough for half the community to hear. I didn't rush to open the door. I stood at the second-floor window looking down. "Didn't you leave with nothing? Where did you get the money to buy a villa?" Zheng Yujun shouted up. "Did you steal it from our family?" "Yeah. It must be our family's hard-earned money." Zheng Gang chimed in. "You thief, give back the money." Zheng Wan stood to the side, silent, staring at me with eyes full of resentment. Auntie Lu from Building 7, Annie Zhao from upstairs, and a bunch of others formed a circle, cracking sunflower seeds and watching the show. Auntie Lu gossiped. "Hey, old Zheng, what are you saying? Can't your son-in-law buy a villa with his own money? Who says he can't have money? What do you know?" Zheng Youjuan's eyes bulged like cow's eggs. He handed over his entire salary to my daughter every month. Only had 200 yuan pocket money. Where would he get 12 million? Auntie Zhao added. "Maybe he won the lottery?" Zheng Gang immediately jumped up. "Even if he won the lottery, it's marital property. My sister gets half." I laughed. "Good thing we divorced yesterday. Otherwise, I'd really have to give away half of that 500 million to those dogs." I went downstairs, opened the door, and leaned against the doorframe watching their performance. "Xiao Ran." Zheng Wan finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Tell me the truth. Where did the money come from?" "None of your business." I looked at her. "The divorce certificate was issued yesterday. We have nothing to do with each other." "How can you say that?" Zheng Yujun stepped forward. "You lived in our house, ate our food for 3 years. Now that you've got wings, you want to fly? No way. Either transfer this house to our family, or pay 5 million in compensation for wasted youth." The surrounding aunties buzzed with chatter. Auntie Lu even stopped eating her sunflower seeds. "Old Zheng, that's unreasonable. You forced him to marry into your family. Everyone in the community knows what Xiao Ran was like, getting up at midnight to prepare milk powder and change diapers, cooking breakfast for the whole family. Your son Zheng Gang got his job through his connections. And this is how you treat him." Zheng Yujun was choked up. Zheng Gang got anxious. "Auntie Lu, don't talk nonsense. I got that job on my own merits." Auntie Zhao snorted. "What merits?" "He got fired after 3 months on the job, and it was Xiao Ran who swallowed his pride and begged the boss to give him another chance." Zheng Gang's face turned bright red. Zheng Wan bit her lip, then suddenly changed her tone. "Xiao Ran, can we talk nicely? No matter what, we were married for 3 years. Xiao Jia is still young. He can't be without a father." When I heard the name Xiao Jia, my stomach churned. "In my past life, just before I died," she said with a smile, "that child isn't yours at all. It's Zhang Ziheo's seed. You raised him for 3 years for nothing, you fool." I stared at her. "You know very well whose seed Zheng Jia is." Her face turned pale, her lips trembled, and she couldn't speak. Zheng Yujun didn't catch on. "What do you mean?" Isn't Xiao Jie your son? Just get a paternity test, and you'll know. I laughed, but I don't need a test to know the result. Zheng Gang jumped up. Xiao Ran, you're slandering us. My sister is innocent. Innocent. I looked at him. The name Zhang Zihao shouldn't be unfamiliar to your family, right? Zheng Wan's body swayed, almost falling. Zheng Yujun and Lin Meiying exchanged glances, their faces changing color. The eyes of the surrounding aunties lit up instantly. Aunt Lu was so excited her hands trembled. Oh my god, this drama is huge. Zheng Yujun was so angry he was shaking, pointing at my nose and cursing for a long time, repeating the same few phrases, ungrateful bastard, beast. I couldn't be bothered to listen anymore, turned around, and was about to close the door. Xiao Ran, Zheng Wan suddenly shouted. I don't care how you found out. But buying the house here means you still can't let go of us, right? Come back. Let's start over. Let bygones be bygones. I turned back and looked at her, smiling. Zheng Wan, do you know why I bought the house right across from yours? She was stunned. Because I want not only to watch your family die in the apocalypse, but also to make sure you die slowly and painfully enough. The door closed. Outside, it was quiet for 2 seconds, then all hell broke loose. Zheng Youjuan's roar, Zheng Wan's cries, Zheng Gang's curses, and the auntie's chatter mixed together. I leaned against the door and closed my eyes. In my past life, tied to the bed, watching the cleaver fall, that despair is still fresh in my memory. What they owe me can't be repaid with just a beating or a few scoldings. When the apocalypse comes and order collapses, that's when I'll make my move. The commotion outside lasted over half an hour before it dispersed. The Zheng family left cursing, the aunties still unsatisfied. Before leaving, Aunt Lu shouted at the door. Xiao Ran, don't worry, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly how your family treated you. I laughed behind the door. In this neighborhood, who doesn't know Xiao Ran is a good man? Who doesn't know how the Zheng family bullied him? Now that the good man has turned the tables, there's no more exciting show under heaven. My phone rang. It was Jia Yungue from the renovation company. I'm at the entrance of the neighborhood, blocked by a group of people asking if I'm here to renovate your place. What's going on with you? Nothing. I'll come out to get you. After hanging up, I composed myself and walked out. 3 months to build a safe house that can withstand the apocalypse, enough supplies to last a lifetime, and a debt to settle, one by one. Oh, and I need to start trading stocks. Money makes money, and time waits for no one. As for the Zheng family, the aunties at the entrance hadn't dispersed yet. Aunt Lu was loudly telling newcomers. Hey, you don't know? Zheng Youjuan's son-in-law. Oh, ex-son-in-law. Just got divorced yesterday, and today he bought a villa in cash. Really? Would I lie to you? 12 million. Didn't even blink. That Xiao Ran is really a good young man. He slaved away for the Zheng family for 3 years, and that Zheng one always looked down on him. Now look, he's made it big, and she has nowhere to cry. I say the Zheng family had it coming. They didn't appreciate such a good son-in-law. Exactly, Xiao Ran is such a nice guy. Everyone in the neighborhood has eyes. Zheng Yujun was both shocked and anxious. Bullshit. He immediately roared. That bastard bought the house with our money. I'm going to find him right now. Although he didn't know how Xiao Ran got the money. You divorced my daughter only yesterday morning, and in that short time you got 12 million? So this money must be marital property, and we're entitled to half. And since you were a live-in son-in-law, even you belong to our Zheng family. So rounding up, this 12 million is all ours. My son is getting married soon, and we're short on cash. The old man suddenly burst with astonishing energy and shot out like a rocket. The 2 old aunties exchanged glances and quickly followed. This was a huge drama. How could they miss it? As for Zheng Yujun, he trotted all the way to Building 8. Not that he didn't want to run faster, but that was his top speed. Fortunately, it wasn't far, and he soon arrived to find many elderly people already gathered around the villa. The villa had a yard, so everyone stood outside the fence, peering through the railings. Hey, old Zheng. Seeing Zheng Yujun approach, the crowd turned and cast envious looks at him. TSK, the Zheng family doesn't have much good stuff, but they sure got lucky, picking up such a promising son-in-law. Congratulations. Bought a villa, huh? Impressive. Usually you can't tell, so low-key. Everyone chattered, but none of it made Zheng Yujun happy. In his view, this villa wasn't worth 12 million, 10 million at most. So Xiao Ran had wasted 2 million. Bastard, that's 2 million of my family's money. He walked forward with a dark face, and when he reached the outer gate, he pounded on it forcefully. There was a doorbell, but people his age weren't used to using it. Bang bang bang, fast and urgent, as if someone had died. Xiao Ran thought it was Jia Yungue, but when he checked the surveillance camera, he couldn't help but laugh. It was Zheng Yujun. Well, it seemed news of his villa purchase had spread through the neighborhood, and Zheng Yujun couldn't resist charging over. He had no intention of avoiding him. In fact, he wanted to make the Zheng family envious, jealous, and regretful. How could he pass up the chance to slap them in the face? He opened the door, crossed the yard to the gate, and opened it. Bastard, Zheng Yujun cursed and tried to push inside, naturally wanting to keep the family scandal private. But Xiao Ran blocked the doorway, preventing him from entering. The old man grew angrier, pointing at Xiao Ran's nose. You used our family's money, and you dare to block me from entering? Xiao Ran laughed. Old man, don't forget, I divorced your daughter yesterday, and I bought the house today. So what does it have to do with your Zheng family? This news caused an immediate buzz among the crowd. Some aunties and uncles stared at Xiao Ran with burning eyes. Divorced? Great, my daughter is still single. If she marries Xiao Ran, won't the whole family move into the big villa? Zheng Yujun wasn't intimidated by this. He sneered. Xiao Ran, do you think I'm stupid? You divorced Zheng Wan only yesterday. Where did you get the money to buy a villa? So this is marital property, and half belongs to the Zheng family. Makes perfect sense. The aunties and uncles who had been scheming immediately changed expressions. Yes, if it's marital property, then half indeed belongs to the Zheng family. With 12 million instantly halved, was Xiao Ran, now worth 6 million, still attractive? Yes, but not much. Xiao Ran laughed. How property is divided depends on evidence, not on your empty words here. Old man, if you have a problem, take me to court. Now get out of my way, or I'll call the police. Illegal trespassing can get you detained for at least half a month. The last part he made up to scare Zheng Yujun. He had no idea if that was true. But Zheng Yujun didn't know either, and immediately stepped back in fear. However, leaving in disgrace? He couldn't accept that. He was already convinced the villa was theirs, and it wasn't worth 12 million. So he had to take ownership and renegotiate the contract with the seller. After all, only a deposit had been paid, and they hadn't been to the housing authority yet. That spendthrift Xiao Ran had lost 2 million in one day. He wanted to strangle him. Just then, Lin Meiying also ran over carrying her grandson. After getting a brief understanding of the situation, the old woman started throwing a tantrum, sitting on the ground and wailing. You ungrateful little beast. Once you get rich and have money, you abandon your wife and children. You're really not a good person. Although this is slandering Xiao Ran, it happens to fit the facts. Indeed, Xiao Ran got rich, got divorced, and even abandoned his son. The crowd couldn't help whispering and discussing. Xiao Ran was waiting for this. He wanted the Zheng family to be completely discredited and shunned in the neighborhood. He said calmly, why did I get divorced? It's very simple. Zheng Wan was already pregnant with someone else's child before marriage. She married me just to hide the pregnancy and make me the fall guy. Zheng Yujun, Lin Meiying, you really have taught your daughter well. Raising such a shameless, insidious, and vicious daughter. How did I live in your house for 4 years? Did you ever treat me like family for a single day? You made me do this and that all day, dumping all the housework on me. Even if I worked overtime until 10 p.m., I still had to do the laundry. Huh, don't talk to me about conscience. You're not worthy. After these words, the crowd exploded. Zheng Wan actually did such a despicable thing? Aren't you afraid that the son you gave birth to will have no anus? Haha, Lin Meiying dared to make a scene in public, but she ended up shooting herself in the foot. Now, the reputation of Zheng Wan and the Zheng family will be completely ruined in the neighborhood. Zheng Yujun and his wife heard about this for the first time and were completely at a loss for words. They only felt the contemptuous stares of their neighbors piercing them, wishing there was a hole in the ground to crawl into. This is China. After all, getting pregnant before marriage and then finding an honest man to take the fall, making him a cuckold. If word gets out, people will curse you to your face. After a while, Lin Meiying reacted first and immediately screamed, bullshit. My daughter is such a good person. How could she do something like that? Xiao Ran, you bastard, just because you're divorced, you can slander my daughter like this? Zheng Yujun also reacted and lunged at Xiao Ran. I'll fight you to the death. Don't fight. I'm waiting to cut you piece by piece after the disaster. If you drop dead from a heart attack now, that would be a pity. Xiao Ran firmly blocked Zheng Yujun. Even though he wasn't particularly strong, dealing with a 60-year-old man was more than enough. Huh, do you want me to name the lover? Xiao Ran said coldly. Zheng Wan has been maintaining an improper relationship with that lover, and I have many videos. The last part was naturally a lie, but how would Zheng Yujun and his wife know? Would they dare to gamble? If Xiao Ran took out the videos and played them publicly, then they'd better move to another neighborhood. Or how could they show their faces? Let's go. Lin Meiying tugged at her husband. Seeing Zheng Yujun still glaring fiercely, unwilling to give up, she whispered, call our son and daughter back to discuss a plan. But Zheng Wan is still at work. Zheng Yujun said subconsciously. Lin Mei rolled her eyes at him. 12 million. With that much money, why work? That's right. Zheng Yujun obediently followed her. As soon as Zheng Yujun and his wife got home, they eagerly called their son and daughter. Zheng Gang, come back quickly. Mom, what's so urgent? I'm about to win this hand. Money, millions of money. Come back now. What? Okay, I'll be right back. Zheng Wan, take leave and come back immediately. Dad, I just took leave yesterday. I can't take another day off today. Then quit that job. Do you know, Xiao Ran just spent 12 million to buy building 8 in our neighborhood. Yes, that villa. Think about it. How could he have earned 12 million in such a short time from yesterday's divorce to this morning? So, this must be money he secretly saved during the marriage, which is community property. Dad, stop talking. I'll be right back. So, just half an hour later, Zheng Wan and her brother entered the house almost simultaneously. Mom, you said there are millions. Where's the money? Zheng Gang's eyes lit up with surprise. So their family was actually this rich. I'm a hidden rich second generation. Lin Mei sneered. The money is with Xiao Ran. A full 12 million. What? Zheng Gang immediately jumped up. How could that bastard have so much money? Zheng Yujun raised his hand. Don't get excited. Sit down first. We need to discuss this slowly. Discuss my ass. Let's go ask that bastard for the money. Zheng Gang couldn't hold back anymore. His girlfriend had been nagging him to buy a luxury bag before she'd unlock new positions. Wait, with 12 million, why would I want that kind of trash? I want someone younger, prettier, with a better figure. Sit down. Zheng Yujun shouted at his son first. After Zheng Gang sat down sulkily, he looked at Zheng Wan and recounted how he heard about Xiao Ran buying the house, spending a full 12 million, and also mentioned Xiao Ran's accusations against Zheng Wan. Zheng Wan, is that bastard talking nonsense? Zheng Yujun stared into Zheng Wan's eyes. Zheng Wan was almost furious. You actually made a scene with Xiao Ran in public? Now he's taken the chance to expose my shameful secret, and the whole neighborhood must be gossiping about me. How am I supposed to walk around the neighborhood now? Lousy teammates. When something this important happens, you don't call me back first, but go make trouble yourselves. Now are you happy? Satisfied? But what use was anger? Zheng Wan hesitated for a moment, then nodded. It's true. Xiao Jia is not his child. She was afraid that if she denied it, Xiao Ran would actually release the so-called videos. Then she would be completely finished. How could you be so careless? Zheng Yujun scolded, letting that bastard see through it and even get evidence. He didn't blame his daughter for the shameful act, only resented that Zheng Wan wasn't careful enough and was found out by Xiao Ran. Indeed, birds of a feather flocked together. They were all the same. Lin Mei also felt no shame. After all, she had always looked down on Xiao Ran as a son-in-law. But if the scandal stayed within the family, it was fine. If it got out, she was still afraid of losing face. Zheng Gang cared even less. What does it matter if Xiao Jia isn't that bastard's biological son? He married my sister, so that 12 million belongs to my sister, belongs to our family. He can't just take it all after divorce. Zheng Wan raised her hand. Don't act impulsively, and don't do anything. I need to call someone for advice. I'll say it again. Before I finish this call, all of you stay quietly in your rooms. Otherwise, I won't go after the money. Zheng Yujun and the other two were unwilling but had to listen. After all, Xiao Ran was her husband, well, ex-husband. If Zheng Wan gave up on the money, how could they get their hands on it? But who was Zheng Wan calling? That lover. Zheng Wan went into her room and dialed a number. I'm still at work. If there's nothing important, I'll hang up, said a man on the other end. He was indeed Zheng Wan's lover, named Zhang Zihao, also a doctor in Zheng Wan's department. Although only 33, he was about to be promoted to deputy director, with a bright future ahead. Listen to me first. Zheng Wan gritted her teeth and spilled everything about Xiao Ran. Zhang Zihao pondered. Xiao Ran said he has videos of us. He's probably bluffing. We've always been very careful. Xiao Ran couldn't possibly have gone to the hospital, so he definitely has no evidence. As for Xiao Jia, the child is a flaw. A DNA test would show whose child he is. 12 million. Zhang Zihao's heart also trembled. With his salary and kickbacks, he could definitely earn over 10 million in his lifetime. But to come up with 12 million now? Absolutely impossible. Not even in the next 20 years. So, greed also took hold of him. Xiao Ran can take out 12 million at once without haggling, which means he has far more money than that. He analyzed calmly. Although I don't know where his money came from, it must have existed during your marriage. Otherwise, how could he suddenly have that much money in less than 24 hours? Winning the lottery. Everyone knows the lottery is a tax on stupidity. No one ever wins the jackpot. Zheng Wan was about to suggest a lottery win, But after Zhang Zihao's analysis, she thought it impossible. Yes, who knows anyone who won the lottery? No one. And Xiao Ran actually has more than 12 million? Yes, who would spend all their money on a house without even haggling? He must have far more money than this to be so generous as not to haggle. So, the first thing you need to do is file a lawsuit in court, accusing Xiao Ran of concealing marital property. Declare the divorce agreement before the verdict invalid and redistribute the property. Zhang Zihao acted as a backseat strategist. Zheng Wan nodded repeatedly. She only graduated from a nursing school, while Zhang Zihao, a master's graduate from a prestigious university. With more education, he indeed has more ideas and is on the right side. If Zheng Yujun and Lin Ming go make a scene, it would only be disgraceful. Can they get any benefit? Look at his approach. Zihao, you're really smart, she said sincerely. Zhang Zihao smiled. Go hire a lawyer right away. Don't be afraid to spend money. Win this lawsuit, and you won't have to work anymore. You can just be a rich housewife at home. Zheng Wan nodded repeatedly. Let the lawyer write the complaint. All you have to do is sign it. Zhang Zihao continued to offer advice. By the way, tell your parents and brother not to cause any more trouble, or it will create unnecessary problems. Remember, this is an era of rule of law. Making a scene, crying, and threatening suicide will only make you a laughingstock. Zheng Wan nodded repeatedly. After hanging up, Zheng Wan went out and repeated what Zhang Zihao had told her. Of course, she wouldn't say that all this was taught by Zhang Zihao, but that they had discussed it together. Hearing Zheng Wan's analysis that Xiao Ran had more than 12 million, the greed on Zheng Youjuan's and the others' faces was already uncontrollable. We're rich. Zheng Wan told them not to cause any more trouble, then immediately grabbed her bag and went to find a lawyer. Xiao Ran's mistake was showing off too early and exposing his wealth. Xiao Ran waited for a while, and finally, Jia Yungue arrived. After exchanging pleasantries, Jia Yungue couldn't help but stand up and look at the house. He didn't bring many tools, just roughly measured with a measuring pen. After all, the price hadn't been discussed yet, so he naturally wouldn't be too serious. The villa had 3 floors above ground and 1 basement, totaling 600 square meters. There was also a yard outside, but it didn't need renovation. Jia Yungue looked from top to bottom, then returned to the living room on the first floor and started discussing the price with Xiao Ran. If we finish it in 2 months, the schedule is very tight, so labor costs will be very high. I need to arrange for people to work day and night in shifts. Xiao Ran smiled. Give me a number. 80 million, Jia Yungue said, and even he felt a bit embarrassed. The villa itself was only worth about 10 million, but the renovation cost was 80 million. Only a fool would agree. But to complete it in 2 months, 80 million was indeed a reasonable figure. He wasn't asking for an exorbitant price. Xiao Ran hesitated. Seeing this, Jia Yungue quickly said, I'm not overcharging. If you need to rush the schedule, the price really can't be reduced much. I have to make some profit. If you think it's too expensive, we can extend the timeline. For half a year, I can cut about 10 million. But that still far exceeded the price of the villa. Xiao Ran, however, raised his hand and said, It's not that I think it's expensive. If it's 80 million, can it meet my requirements? Of course. Jia Yungue patted his chest and said, I've been in the house renovation business for many years. I'm absolutely sure. Your villa is only 600 square meters, with a renovation cost of 80 million. On average, that's 140,000 per square meter. Isn't that enough? When you put it that way, it is indeed expensive. Xiao Ran nodded. Okay, let's sign the contract. Huh? Just like that? You don't even haggle. Jia Yungue was stunned. He had never seen a homeowner like this. First thinking the renovation cost was too low, then not bargaining at all. It just showed one word, rich. Xiao Ran smiled. I need you to do a good job and meet my requirements. Don't worry, I'll do what I say. Jia Yungue said confidently, patting his chest. All right, sign the contract. Xiao Ran said. But let me make it clear first. If the inspection fails, I won't be so easygoing. I'll spend all 80 million suing you. No problem. Jia Yungue said. By the way, show me the original property deed and give me a copy. Xiao Ran shook his head. I just bought the house today, and the deed hasn't come through yet. It's okay. I can pay you a 5 million deposit first. You can start working on the renovation plan. When the money runs out, I'll transfer more. If the renovation can't be completed on time due to my reasons, I'll still pay the full 80 million. Jia Yungue looked at him as if he were a monster, and after a long while said, You rich people are really strange. Jia Yungue left, of course happily. An 80 million deal. He could easily make a few million. Although Xiao Ran spent money like water, He didn't feel sorry at all. The stocks he bought might not guarantee a 10% daily return, but 5% or more was definitely no problem. So, in 2 months, his $350 million investment would become $3 billion or even more. However, whether it was $3 billion or $5 billion, it made no difference to Xiao Ran. The supplies he purchased would be enough for hundreds of lifetimes. In 3 months, everyone's wealth would return to zero, meaningless. He had a total of $398 million. He invested $350 million in stocks, spent $1 million on the house, and $5 million on renovation. So he still had $43 million, of which $11 million would soon be used to pay the balance for the house. The renovation still needed $75 million, but the construction period was 2 months, so he could slowly withdraw money from the stock market. No rush. Xiao Ran was busy. He went to an agency again, but this time not to buy a house, but to rent one. The villa needed 2 months of renovation. Was he going to stay in a hotel every day? It wasn't that he couldn't afford it, but staying in a hotel was inconvenient for receiving packages. He had a lot of things to buy online. Moreover, Xiao Ran also planned to rent a warehouse. As soon as he went out, his phone rang. He looked and saw it was from the company, his direct superior, manager Lu Qing. He casually answered and just said hello, when the other side roared. Xiao Ran, do you have cancer? If you're not dead, get your ass to work immediately. Otherwise, you don't need to come anymore. Fine, I'll resign. Xiao Ran said calmly. He would be very busy in the coming days. When would he have time to work? Show off? The apocalypse was coming. Why show off? At least until he finished his preparations, he wouldn't have time to show off. He decisively hung up. Back at the agency, as soon as he appeared, the male agent who had served him before immediately scurried over and said, Bro, is there a problem? I want to rent an apartment. Xiao Ran said, Huh? The male agent stared at Xiao Ran dumbfounded. Didn't you just buy a villa? You already have the keys and can move in. Why do you need to rent? Xiao Ran smiled. I'm going to renovate that villa. Do you have any good listings? As large as possible, clean, and with relatively new decoration. Oh, renovating it again. That makes sense. Someone who spends $12 million on a villa wouldn't just move into an old house. They'd definitely renovate it. No problem. The male agent quickly said, Bro, I have several listings. I'll take you to see them. Also, it has to be in Jufu community. Xiao Ran added. No problem. 2 hours later, Xiao Ran finalized the contract with the landlord. Short-term rental for 2 months, with a monthly rent of $12,000. It was a bit expensive, but the apartment was really large and the decoration was new and luxurious. It was also move-in ready. Xiao Ran just needed to buy some bedding. Good, another thing done. Xiao Ran had too many things to buy. However, most of his money was still in the stock market, far from reaching the goal of a tenfold increase. For now, he could only make small purchases. He started making a spreadsheet, listing everything he had to buy. Some items required a long lead time, so he needed to place orders in advance. While he was making the list, his phone rang. He looked and saw the screen displayed wife. Huh, forgot to change the label. Xiao Ran picked up. The punishment for the Zheng family had already begun, so why wouldn't he answer Zheng Wan's call? Hello, Xiao Ran. I've hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit in court, demanding a redistribution of marital property. Zheng Wan's voice was cold and ruthless. Give me an address, so the court summons can reach you. Huh, indeed filed a lawsuit. Xiao Ran was not surprised at all. He smiled faintly. Wait a moment. I also need to find a lawyer. From now on, contact my lawyer for anything. Click, he hung up directly. Let's spend some time playing with the Zheng family. Xiao Ran had no time to waste in court. He first searched for the best divorce lawyer in Suching, then went to find him. Coincidentally, the famous lawyer He Qian was available. Mr. Xiao, do you know our lawyer He's fee? The receptionist kindly reminded. Yes, 3,000 per hour. Xiao Ran nodded. Indeed expensive. The front desk girl was secretly stunned. She couldn't tell from Xiao Ran's attire that he was a wealthy man. She quickly made a phone call, then hung up and gave a slight bow to Xiao Ran. Mr. Xiao, please follow me. She led Xiao Ran into an office, knocked on the door first, then pushed it open. Attorney Mr. Xiao is here, she said. He Qian, about 40 years old, was wearing a suit and glasses. He looked up at Xiao Ran, his eyes sharp, giving a feeling of being able to see through people. Please have a seat, he said to Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran sat down, and the front desk girl asked, Mr. Xiao, what would you like to drink? No need, Xiao Ran said with a smile. I should be leaving soon. Oh, okay. The front desk girl left. Mr. Xiao seems to be in a hurry, so let's get started right away, He Qian said. Xiao Ran nodded. I divorced my ex-wife yesterday, but after the divorce, I won the lottery. Now my ex-wife is suing me for concealing marital property and wants to redistribute it. He had a mocking expression. He Qian laughed. The timing of the divorce and the lottery purchase should have clear timestamps. I think Mr. Xiao doesn't even need a lawyer. Just submit the evidence, and this is a sure win. Xiao Ran shook his head. Originally, I planned to let it go, but my ex-wife is so aggressive that I've decided not to let it slide. Oh, He Qian showed some interest. What do you plan to do, Mr. Xiao? My ex-wife had an affair before marrying me and was pregnant. So, the child is not mine. Here is the child's hair and my hair. We can do a paternity test. Xiao Ran said calmly, as if telling someone else's story. Yesterday, when I signed the divorce agreement, I chose to leave with nothing. Now I not only demand an equal division of marital property, but also compensation for mental distress. He Qian thought for a moment and said, I want to remind Mr. Xiao that my fees are very high. So high that the compensation you get from your ex-wife might not even cover my legal fees. It's fine. I want a big prize, and I'm not short on money, Xiao Ran said with a smile. He Qian asked curiously, how much did you win? 500 million. Uft. He Qian was drinking tea and sprayed it all out. That's not small. Although his fees were expensive, he could never earn 500 million in his lifetime. Xiao Ran didn't mind and said, the reason I came to you, attorney He, is that I know you are the king of divorce cases. And what I want is to make my ex-wife's family pay? Haha, I was a live-in son-in-law. For 4 years of marriage, I handed over all my salary and only got 200 yuan monthly allowance. I endured all that because of my son. Now that I find out he's not mine, even a pushover like me has to explode. He Qian nodded, understanding well. But, since you have the anger of a pushover, why did you willingly leave with nothing and then win the lottery that same afternoon? It's as if you knew you would win and rushed to leave with nothing to keep the prize all to yourself. Then he laughed at himself. If Xiao Ran had connections in the lottery center and could know the winning numbers in advance, how powerful would that be? And he could be deceived by a woman for 4 years? He was overthinking. All right, Mr. Xiao, do you have the original lottery ticket? If not, it's fine. For such a big prize, I can request the lottery center to issue a certificate. You just need to write a power of attorney for me, he said. I have the original ticket with me, Xiao Ran said. Having come specifically to hire a lawyer, he was prepared. So, they started the process. He Qian felt it was like stealing money, because even the worst lawyer couldn't lose this case. The difference was how much marital property and mental distress compensation he could recover for Xiao Ran, and his fee was 3,000 yuan per hour. Xiao Ran didn't care. He just made requests. First, I want the litigation period to be as long as possible, but not exceed 3 months. Second, I want them to pay as much as possible, and I plan to donate that money to Project Hope. You'd better let the judge know, so they don't think I'm extorting. The longer the litigation, the more suffering and torment for Zheng Wan's family. But if it exceeds 3 months, they wouldn't have to pay. So, he also wanted them to taste the pain of losing money. He Qian found Xiao Ran's request strange. He had never heard of anyone wanting to prolong the litigation. Whatever, he hardly needed to prepare for this case. The longer the case dragged on, the higher his income would be. Why not? Xiao Ran gave He Qian Zheng Wan's phone number, and then He Qian would handle the communication with Zheng Wan. He Qian also arranged a trainee lawyer for Xiao Ran, who would keep Xiao Ran updated on the case's progress. The trainee lawyer was a cold beauty, 170 centimeters tall, with a face score close to 90, curvaceous figure, and wearing black-rimmed glasses, exuding a cold and stunning aura. Mr. Xiao, my name is Lu Mei. If you want to know the progress of the case, just ask me, she said as she escorted Xiao Ran to the law firm's entrance. With her height and 34D chest and round, firm buttocks, she attracted the attention of many passers-by. Okay, Xiao Ran nodded. He had already added Lu Mei on WeChat and had her phone number. You can contact me not just for the case, but for anything. Lu Mei added, but seemed to realize it might be ambiguous, and quickly said, I mean legal matters. If she hadn't explained, it might have been fine, but her explanation only led Xiao Ran to think otherwise. Xiao Ran looked at her, unsure whether she had genuinely misspoken or said it intentionally. Humph. He Qian immediately called Zheng Wan. Ms. Zheng Wan, I am Mr. Xiao Ran's legal representative. Who is your attorney? Oh, Han Tao. Okay, I understand. I will coordinate with attorney Han, and he will inform you of any progress. He hung up and dialed another number. Hello, this is He Qian. Haha. Yes, I now represent Xiao Ran. You are bound to lose this case. Haha. I'm not calling to show off. I'm calling on behalf of Xiao Ran to file a lawsuit for redistribution of marital property. The reason for our lawsuit? Simple. Because Xiao Ran discovered that Zheng Jie is not his biological son, he demands a redistribution of property and compensation for mental distress. The other party was clearly at a loss for words. Zheng Wan hadn't mentioned Zheng Jie at all, catching them off guard. What do lawyers fear most? When a client hides a secret, and the opposing counsel finds out, hitting them with a surprise. That's deadly. All right, go look into it first. He Qian smiled and hung up. For him, this case was too easy, like an open book exam. Not even a trainee lawyer could lose it. He dialed another number. Xiao Zhang, write a short article. The main line is that Zhang Zihao, an orthopedic doctor at the Municipal Hospital North District, had an affair with Nurse Zheng Wan, and they have a son. Feel free to improvise on the rest. Use a lot of bots to stir up online buzz. At least by evening, all the doctors and nurses in the North District Orthopedics Department should know. After hanging up again, he smiled and made no more calls. Xiao Ran's request was to ruin Zheng Wan's reputation. As a man, he naturally sided with Xiao Ran, and as the client's attorney, he had to support Xiao Ran even more. The adulterer and adulteress deserved to be nailed to the pillar of shame. Shortly after Zheng Wan put down her phone, it rang again. She looked and saw it was her attorney, so she quickly answered. Zheng Wan, how many things have you hidden from me? The other party asked bluntly. Do you know how passive you've made me? Zheng Wan was a bit confused and paused before asking. What do you mean? Zheng Jie is not Xiao Ran's son, right? Han Tao asked. Zheng Wan took a deep breath. She was mentally prepared for this. Zheng Jie is indeed not Xiao Ran's son, but that has nothing to do with him concealing marital property. Zheng Wan, I just received a call from your ex-husband's attorney. Do you know who it is? He Qian, the best divorce lawyer in Suzhou. Compared to him, I'm just a nobody. He has almost never lost a divorce case. Han Tao said. Zheng Wan sneered. Almost never lost doesn't mean never lost. Even if he never lost before, he will lose this time. All right, let's set that aside for now, Han Tao said. Now Xiao Ran is also preparing to sue, on the grounds that Zheng Jie is not his biological son, demanding a redistribution of marital property and compensation for mental distress. Zheng Wan was almost amused. She thought for a moment and said, That's perfect. Both parties are demanding a redistribution of marital property. Attorney Han, have you found out how much marital property Xiao Ran has concealed? Not yet, don't worry. I need to get a court order before I can ask the bank to check Xiao Ran's personal assets, at least until tomorrow. Han Tao said, Okay, I'll wait for your good news. Zheng Wan hung up the phone. No matter how immoral she was, Xiao Ran's money was still marital property. So even if Xiao Ran hired 100 or 1,000 lawyers, he would still have to fork over the money in his bank account. Xiao Ran checked the time. It was already past 4 in the afternoon. He continued listing items to buy. Busy until evening, he stretched and walked out of the building, ready to go to dinner. Entering the elevator, after going down 2 floors, an aunt came in. Seeing him, her eyes lit up, and she started promoting her daughter like a product, bragging about how beautiful and gentle she was. Absolutely the best candidate for a wife and mother. Xiao Ran felt overwhelmed. Finally reaching the first floor, the elevator door opened with a ding, and he rushed out, while behind him, the aunt was still calling, Xiao Xiao. You haven't written down my daughter's phone number yet. Huff. After running a long way, Xiao Ran finally breathed a sigh of relief. That aunt was too persistent. But it's only for now. In 3 months, what everyone will care about won't be marrying off daughters or taking wives, but food and clean water. Coincidentally, when Xiao Ran arrived at the entrance of the residential area, he happened to see Zheng Youjuan's family also approaching. When Zheng Jie saw him, he clapped his hands and pointed at him, saying, It's the bastard. The bastard is here. In just one day, Dad became a bastard? Obviously, Zheng Youjuan's family had taught him that. Zheng Youjun immediately walked over, pointed at Xiao Ran's nose, and said, Bastard, I'm telling you, don't even think about embezzling a single cent of our family's property. Also, hiding marital property in large amounts is a criminal offense. Xiao Ran laughed. Are you bullying me for not knowing the law? Wait a moment, I'll consult my lawyer. He pulled out his phone and, right in front of Zheng Youjun, called Lu Mei. Lawyer Lu, hello? Someone just told me that hiding marital property is a criminal offense. Is that true? Oh, it's not. Okay, nothing, just a consultation. Xiao Ran hung up the phone and calmly said to Zheng Youjun, I just asked my lawyer. You're threatening me. I remind you, threats can indeed be criminal. You're too arrogant and cocky. Zheng Youjun was shaking with anger. For 4 years at home, Xiao Ran had always been submissive. Why was he now so arrogant and asking for a slap? Bastard, how dare you bully my dad? Zheng Gang rushed over, rolling up his sleeves as if ready to fight. Xiao Ran didn't even look at him. Zheng Gang was just a spendthrift fool, not worth his attention. Zheng Wan, being calmer and smarter, walked over and said, Xiao Ran, Don't be too pleased with yourself. You can be arrogant now, but as long as it's proven that your current money is marital property, which is obvious, no matter how unwilling you are, you'll have to cough up half. Xiao Ran laughed and then shook his head. Are you all particularly curious about how much money I have? This immediately made the four Zheng family members' eyes light up with anticipation. They also wanted to know how much money they could get. He guess. Xiao Ran said with a smile, infuriating the four Zhengs. After being angry for a while, Zheng Youjuan's family had no choice but to leave. They went out to eat. Usually, Lin Ming would buy groceries, and when Xiao Ran came back in the evening, he would cook. They would just wait to eat. The next day at noon, the old couple Zheng Yujun would eat yesterday's leftovers, never willing to cook themselves. It would be better to cook at noon and finish the meal in the evening. Lazy. With Xiao Ran to boss around, why do it themselves? Now that there was no one to cook at home, Lin Ming refused to enter the kitchen. Plus, with money coming soon, they decided to splurge and eat out. They were quite generous, going to the Moon Pavilion near the neighborhood, where the per capita cost was around 150, not low. Xiao Ran had actually been following them all the way. Although he had dealt heavy blows to the Zheng family in the past 2 days, thinking of the pain of being dismembered by the four Zhengs, how could he be appeased? Let me provoke you a bit more. He called Lu Mei again. Lawyer Lu, are you free to join me for a meal? Yes now? Okay, I'll send you the location. Hanging up, he sent the address of the Moon Pavilion to Lu Mei. Lu Mei quickly replied, arrive in 20 minutes. Xiao Ran entered the Moon Pavilion and soon found Zheng Youjuan's family on the second floor. He chose a table 3 tables away and sat down, scanning the QR code to order. He ordered 8 dishes, emphasizing the expensive ones. Then he began to wait. Zheng Youjuan's family naturally saw him and felt disgusted. We come here to eat, and you come too. If you say it's a coincidence, who would believe it? Damn it. Zheng Wan's phone suddenly rang. She looked and saw it was her colleague Xiao Lu, her closest friend. She answered, and Xiao Lu's voice immediately came through. Zheng Wan. Hurry up and check the Suzhou forum. There's a post saying you have an improper relationship with Dr. Zhang, and even Xiao Jia was born with him. It's very hot. What? Zheng Wan's face changed. After a few words with Xiao Lu, she quickly hung up and opened the forum to browse. Sure enough, besides the pinned post, the post titled Shocking. Orthopedic Dr. Zhang XX from the North District of the Municipal Hospital has maintained a long-term improper relationship with Nurse Zhang XX and has a son together, was at the top, with astonishing popularity and over 1,000 replies. She staggered, almost fainting. Forcing herself to calm down, she opened the post to read. After reading, she breathed a slight sigh of relief. Apart from the title being true, all the details in the post were fabricated. Things like they did it in the locker room, impossible. They weren't stupid, why would they do it there? The question was, who spread the news? Her gaze involuntarily turned to Xiao Ran. Who else could it be but this person? I never expected that in 4 years of marriage, you always acted submissive, doing whatever you were told. But it was all an act. You're not a sheep. You're a wolf in sheep's clothing, hiding marital property and stabbing me in the back. What a petty person. Isn't it just that I had an affair and gave birth to a son? Xiao Jia called you dad for 3 years, but had to call his biological father uncle. Do you know how wrong Zihao feels? Zheng Wan's eyes were venomous, but she was now desperate. She could quit her job. After all, she could get at least 6 million from Xiao Ran, so she wouldn't have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of her life. Stomp, stomp, stomp. She strode to Xiao Ran's table and said harshly, Xiao Ran, I never thought you would be such a despicable person. Humph, do you think you can defeat me with such dirty tricks? I'm telling you, no matter what, our 4 years of marriage are real, and marital property must be divided equally. Xiao Ran nodded. Well said. Marital property must be divided equally. I completely agree. I hope you remember that and don't go back on your word in court. I recorded what you just said. Also, you really don't care about your reputation, but I wonder if Dr. Zhang cares? I heard he's about to be promoted to deputy director, right? Will this affect him? This information wasn't from Zheng Wan in the previous life, but was sent to him by Lu Mei earlier. Zheng Wan was startled. Indeed, she could quit her job, but what about Zhang Zihao? This was a critical period in his career. She couldn't help but worry. Remember, when she got pregnant, she would rather find a scapegoat to give birth than have an abortion, which showed she truly cared about Zhang Zihao. So when Xiao Ran mentioned that this might affect Zhang Zihao's future, she couldn't help but worry. You despicable person, she gritted her teeth. When the court rules and you have to pay a large sum, I will return all of this to you. With that, she angrily twisted her hips and went back. Xiao Ran shook his head. Bad people never reflect. Obviously, she cuckolded me. No, even from the beginning she set a trap. Set up a scheme, tricked me into being a cheap father for 3 years, worked for the Zheng family for 4 years for free, and even took away all my income. She doesn't mention any of that, just thinks that if the scandal is exposed, she'll lose face and it will affect Zhang Zihao's future? Huh, what about me? I'm the real victim. But Xiao Ran didn't expect Zheng Wan or anyone in the Zheng family to reflect. Anyway, he wouldn't let the Zheng family have a single good day in these 3 months, and once the disaster began, he would repay all the pain double. After a while, a glamorous beauty walked up to the second floor, making the entire second floor seem brighter. What a beautiful girl. Zheng Gang happened to be sitting facing the stairs, and his eyes went straight. When I have money, I must make this woman my girlfriend. Hey damn. He cursed because he saw the beauty walking towards Xiao Ran. No way, not possible. Damn, she really is looking for Xiao Ran. At that moment, he was green with envy. Such a beautiful woman, with such perky and big breasts, such round and curvy buttocks. Yet she sat down opposite Xiao Ran. Why? Why? That bastard used to be an obedient dog at home, and now this dog can sit with such a beautiful goddess. But what about him? What kind of girlfriend did he have? Not only was she not good looking, but she also worked at a foot bath place, the unregulated kind. The contrast was stark. Zheng Wan heard the noise, turned her head to look, and her expression immediately darkened. Divorced for only a day, and you've already found a replacement? Impossible. Obviously, Xiao Ran had someone outside long ago. Otherwise, how could there be such a seamless transition? Fine, you still have the nerve to accuse me of cheating on you? What about you? Are you being faithful to me? She stood up abruptly and strode over to Xiao Ran's table. Zheng Wan looked down at Xiao Ran and said sarcastically, Xiao Ran, how dare you accuse me? Who is she? Your lover, right? Ms. Zheng, right? Lu Mei said seriously. With that remark, I could sue you for defamation, but I won't stoop to your level. However, if you say such irresponsible things again, I won't let it go. Xiao Ran smiled. This is Lu Mei, Attorney Lu, my legal representative. Zheng Wan was stunned. Xiao Ran's lawyer should be He Qian. Yes, He Qian, not such a delicate woman. My God, how can her breasts be so big? They must be implants. And her, but is too perky, it must be filled too. She thought maliciously. However, Lu Mei exuded competence and an imposing aura, so she was probably indeed a lawyer. Maybe she was another lawyer from the firm, since He Qian was the best divorce lawyer in Suzhou, and sending a junior lawyer to liaise with Xiao Ran was normal. She had been careless. She never imagined Lu Mei would be a lawyer. She was very embarrassed, wishing the ground would open up and swallow her. But Xiao Ran had clearly followed them here. Why didn't he arrange to have dinner with Lu Mei elsewhere? Why here? It was obvious. He wanted her to misunderstand, to hurt her. Xiao Ran, you can only jump around now. Tomorrow I'll have my lawyer file a motion to freeze your assets, so you don't squander marital property. Zheng Wan said coldly. These were, of course, taught by the lawyer and Zhang Zihao. Aren't you arrogant? Freeze your assets and see what you can do. Xiao Ran chuckled and said, Fine, you can try. See if you can freeze my assets tomorrow. Do you think you can freeze them just because you say so? The court isn't run by your family. Just wait and see. Zheng Wan stormed back angrily. She hadn't even eaten dinner yet, but she was already full of anger. Xiao Ran laughed loudly, but his gaze at the 4 Zheng family members remained cold. Lu Mei noticed and thought to herself, oh, it seemed Xiao Ran had suffered great injustice in the Zheng family. Otherwise, why would he go against them? He didn't need their compensation. He would donate it all and even pay extra legal fees. It could only mean he hated the Zheng family so much that making them unhappy and lose money made him happy. She smiled charmingly and deliberately moved her chair closer to Xiao Ran. This woman is smart. Xiao Ran understood and also leaned in. They appeared to be whispering intimately, but in fact, they weren't saying anything important, just chatting about whatever came to mind, deliberately letting Zheng Wan see. Sure enough, Zheng Wan saw and almost charged over again. Are you really just a client and lawyer? Do you need to sit so close? Mom, Dad, you eat. I'm going back first. She said angrily, stood up, grabbed her bag, and left. She was truly full of anger. Seeing Zheng Wan leave, Xiao Ran smiled, sat up straight, and said to Lu Mei, Thank you. For what? Lu Mei asked knowingly. Come, eat some food, Xiao Ran said. After dinner, Xiao Ran hailed a taxi for Lu Mei and watched her leave before returning to the neighborhood. This woman is quite interesting. Beautiful, considerate, and with such an amazing figure. Unfortunately, I no longer have the mood for romance. Would a top-tier woman like Lu Mei be willing to be his mistress? Impossible. But when the apocalypse comes, it will be different. Then, a single meal could drive people crazy. Well, we'll see later. Xiao Ran had no time to chase women now. I still need to work out. The apocalypse will bring continuous hail, no sunlight. Although I don't know if it will always be like this. I need to be prepared for years without sunlight. The stronger my physique, the less likely I'll get sick. Also weapons. When the apocalypse begins, I want the Zheng family to regret it. I'll have to let them know I have a lot of food. But once they realize they can't get food from me, they'll definitely leak the information, causing the whole neighborhood to attack me. That will definitely happen, because my past life memories have proven it. So, I need a lot of weapons, preferably guns. I can't get guns in China, but I could abroad. I'm not short of money, but abroad is too dangerous. In places where guns can be bought freely, it's not strange to get robbed. Building a safe house and hoarding supplies is all about stability. So, have Xiao Ran take risks abroad? No way. But it's okay. I can go to a shooting range and open a spatial portal right in front of the gun, collecting bullets as they are fired. When needed, I can release the bullets with a thought, either in single shots or bursts, and without any gunshot noise. As long as I spend a lot of money, I can get enough bullets, and in a fired state. Walking and thinking, he returned home. Around 10 p.m., Lu Mei sent a message, but just said goodnight. Back when he was chasing Zheng Wan, he would send 10 messages, and she would reply to one, usually after at least half an hour. Now the situation was completely reversed. Why? Money is indeed a bastard, but it works damn well. Faced with nearly 400 million in wealth, even a goddess like Lu Mei would take the initiative to say goodnight. Xiao Ran smiled and replied after 10 minutes, "Good night." In this life, he would no longer be a simp. Instead, he would become a reaper of goddesses. A night passed. Zheng Wan didn't sleep well, her mind full of 12 million. And Xiao Ran's arrogant demeanor in front of her, and the intimate scene between Lu Mei and Xiao Ran. Finally, at 9 a.m., she immediately called Han Tao, urging him to check Xiao Ran's accounts at the bank. An hour later, Han Tao called back. "Found it?" Zheng Wan asked eagerly. "Found it. How much?" "You'd better be mentally prepared." "How much exactly?" Zheng Wan was both surprised and delighted. Han Tao told her to be mentally prepared, so the number must be impressive. 20 million? Or even 50 million? Your ex-husband's transactions over the past 6 months, specifically the last 2 days, amount to nearly 400 million. Han Tao said, gasping. 400 million, 400 million. Thud. Then he heard the sound of something falling on the other end. He quickly said, "Ms. Zheng? Ms. Zheng." Zheng Wan picked herself up from the floor. Although it hurt, she was too excited to notice. She shouted into the phone, "Are you sure it's 400 million, not 40 million? That's a huge difference." 400 million. "I'm sure," Han Tao said. To be honest, he had counted 3 times to confirm. But this money was deposited into Xiao Ran's account after the divorce, and the source was the National Lottery Center's prize redemption account. What? Zheng Wan jumped up. Do you mean he won the lottery after the divorce? Then is it still marital property? Although she hadn't studied law, she knew it definitely wasn't. In terms of timing, your ex-husband probably bought the lottery ticket on the day of the divorce or 2 days before, Han Tao analyzed. If it was 2 days before, then it's undoubtedly marital property. But if it was bought on the day of the divorce, it depends on whether it was before or after the divorce. Zheng Wan thought for a moment and said firmly, "It must have been before the divorce. Otherwise, how could he have voluntarily left with nothing? It's because he wanted to keep the entire jackpot for himself that he was eager to divorce me. This seems reasonable, but it's not, because the lottery hadn't even been drawn yet. So how could Xiao Ran have known he would win?" She reasoned backwards from the outcome and naturally assumed Xiao Ran knew he had won, ignoring the most basic logic. Han Tao smiled and said, "Then I'll congratulate Ms. Zheng in advance. You can get nearly 200 million. Zheng Wan's face lit up, and she said to Han Tao, "I'll trouble lawyer Han to apply to the court to freeze my ex-husband's bank account." "No problem." Han Tao agreed readily. If he won this big case involving a 400 million divorce settlement, he would surely make a name for himself in Suzhou's legal circles. After hanging up, Zheng Wan immediately called Zhang Zihao. Zihao, but before she could say more, Zhang Zihao interrupted. "Do you know how many people are gossiping about us right now, and you're still calling me? Are you crazy?" "No, listen to me." Zheng Wan took a deep breath. Xiao Ran got rich because he won the lottery. On the other end, Zhang Zihao was stunned, because in his analysis he had completely ruled out this factor. Who with normal intelligence would buy lottery tickets? But unexpectedly, Xiao Ran really did get rich by winning the lottery. Guess how much he won? Zheng Wan didn't beat around the bush and said with a deep breath, 400 million after taxes. Thud, a sound of something falling came from the other end. Obviously, Zhang Zihao also fell because of this news. 400 million, who wouldn't be dizzy? The key is, This 400 million is related to them. Zhang Zihao ignored the fact that he was wrong and quickly asked, when was the lottery ticket bought? That's the most critical. Lawyer Han checked. It should be 2 days before or on the day of my divorce from Xiao Ran. Only these 3 days. That evening, 100 first prizes totaling 500 million were drawn, and it should all have been won by Xiao Ran alone. Zheng Wan said, while feeling heartache. Paying 100 million in taxes, so unfair. In her view, this 100 million also belonged to her, at least half. Zhang Zihao nodded. So, as long as we prove that Xiao Ran bought the lottery ticket before the divorce, even if he claimed the prize after the divorce, it's still marital property. Right. Zheng Wan agreed. The divorce procedures between Xiao Ran and I were completed by noon. As long as we exclude the afternoon period, he could only have bought the ticket before the divorce. Moreover, Xiao Ran immediately said he would leave with nothing. If he didn't already know he had won, why would he say that? This reasoning was actually correct, because Xiao Ran indeed knew he would win, and leaving with nothing was to prevent the jackpot from becoming marital property. Zhang Zihao was also drawn into her logic and couldn't help nodding. What's most important? A 500 million jackpot. The impact was too great. He was still dizzy and couldn't think straight. Zihao, we're going to be rich. Zheng Wan said excitedly. Quit your job too. Let's emigrate and live abroad. Zhang Zihao thought for a moment and nodded. All right, now whenever I go out, too many people point fingers at me. My wife also found out, from last night to this morning. She's been making a huge fuss, threatening divorce and suicide, giving me a headache. He wasn't particularly in love with his wife, but her father was an official in the medical system. And if he wanted to advance, he had to cling to his father-in-law's coattails. But now, he didn't want to endure anymore. Even if he only got half the money, that's 200 million. Which country couldn't he go to? Which mansion couldn't he buy? Okay, you keep an eye on it and get the money as soon as possible. He said, trying to stay calm, but his voice trembled uncontrollably. Zheng Wan naturally agreed. She sat on the bed for a long time to calm down, then went out and said, Dad, Mom, Gongzi, I have something to tell you. A moment later, cheers from the Zheng family could be heard throughout the neighborhood. Within just half an hour, news spread throughout the neighborhood. Xiao Ran won the lottery, a total of 500 million. Even after taxes, it's still 400 million. But this is marital property, so even if Xiao Ran claimed the prize after the divorce, he still has to hand over half the money. 500 million. No, 400 million after taxes. It doesn't matter. For ordinary people, 400 million or 500 million are astronomical figures. The Zheng family is rich. God really has no eyes, letting this family get rich. However, many elderly people have already gone to find Xiao Ran and Zheng Wan. For what? Matchmaking. For the sake of 200 million. Even if you're divorced, you're still a hot commodity that everyone flocks to. But, just as Zheng Wan was happily thinking about which country to emigrate to, the phone rang. Han Tao, did he freeze Xiao Ran's money? She quickly answered. Ms. Zheng, I suggest you reach a settlement with your ex-husband. Han Tao said directly. Zheng Wan was stunned for a moment before asking, why? Shouldn't you be freezing Xiao Ran's assets? Because your husband's lottery ticket was bought after your divorce. Han Tao said weakly. Is there any point in fighting this lawsuit? The evidence is as clear as day. Impossible. Zheng Wan blurted out. This is too unreasonable, and she couldn't accept the result. You must have made a mistake. No. Han Tao knew Zheng Wan was disappointed, and he was no less so. A big lawsuit involving 400 million in property division. Your divorce took effect at 11:30 a.m., and Xiao Ran bought the lottery ticket at 2:11 p.m., confirmed by surveillance and the timestamp on the ticket. Han Tao continued. Now your ex-husband is suing you for concealing Zheng Jie's background, causing him great emotional distress and demanding compensation. I suggest you try to reach a settlement with your ex-husband. Otherwise, you have a high probability of losing this lawsuit. He was being tactful. The probability of losing wasn't high. It was certain. Zheng Wan was already stunned, her mind completely blank. 200 million gone. Gone. No, that's my money. My money. She was hysterical, as if going mad. Han Tao said hello several times, but got no response from Zheng Wan. Knowing she was too shocked, he understood and hung up.